Somebody need to call Trump and tell him this is in fact a public address. Did it start? Oh, we on. Dear doggy, we are on. Yes, we are, we're on. Got Violet and my other doggy here with me. Come here. Come here. Let me see a camera. See a camera. That's in fact Prince. Named after the singer Prince. Yes, something like that, I think. Okay, so this video is in fact entitled, sorry about my hair, I'm still whatever with my hair, braiding, unbraiding, and all of that, as well as unraveling this mystery and pertaining to Asha Degree. So the video today is entitled Asha Degree, her father's 911 call in relation to her disappearance. I stand in question of that. The father's 911 call. Yes, I do. I stand in question of that. So my opening question is, if a neighbor lives right next door to a family whose child went missing at 4 a.m., why would that neighbor say they seen her, the missing child? Why would the neighbor have said they seen the child walking down the road? What in fact does that mean? Walking down the road. Walking down the road. I mean, I'm just wondering. And when the neighbor, once again, my question I pose is, if a neighbor lives right next door, supposedly Asha's neighbor lives right next door and not down the street somewhere, right? So if the neighbor lives right next door, my question once again is in me asking, when the father made the 911 call, why did he say the neighbor seen Asha walking down the road? The neighbor, yes, that's what the father said on the 911 call. The neighbor said they seen Asha walking down the road, and then he rewinds back in a sense and says, he repeats himself twice. He says the neighbor said they seen Asha walking down the road. They said they seen a child walking down the road. So I'm in question of what was this road if that person lived right next door. Not only that, what was this neighbor living right next door or in that environment doing out themselves at that time enough to see her? But why on top of that would the father have to ask? No, why on top of that would the father have to say, the father, yes, have to say the neighbor seen a child walking down the road? Why wouldn't a father on a 911 call say the neighbor seen Asha walking down the road, and then repeat again, the neighbor said they seen Asha walking down the road? Why would the father have to say on the 911 call the neighbor seen Asha walking down the road, and then say again, the father, the neighbor seen a child walking down the road? Because see, a child could be anybody. Asha and a child is not the same thing. That stood out the most to me. It was almost like here in broad daylight, it smells almost fishy. And I don't mean in the form of stench. I mean in the form of suspicious. That's almost like, in a sense, it's chaotic. I'm saying the form of the 911 call, yet I couldn't hear it, but I read based upon transcript. Why is that? Because see, a child in Asha is two different things, and yet even a blood relative such as a father himself would know that himself, that Asha and a child is not one and the same. No, they're not. That is totally complete the opposite. That's the other way around. That's in fact like a giveaway. That's almost saying that you could have did that thing. And so to like take the focus off of yourself is to make it seem like in all this somebody else did it. And on top of that, you're saying that the neighbor seen a child walking down the street. That don't sound right. That doesn't sound right, and that's odd. That's odd just as much as the mother stated, Asia's mother stated, that she didn't like how media portrayed her child in the form of fashion. They didn't present her face there enough for everybody to see it. That's what Asia's mom said. She felt that's why she went and had an interview with Jet magazine over Asia's disappearance, because the mother felt, Akila, she felt that black children, when they go missing, they're not given enough attention by mass media. That's why she went and had herself interviewed with Jet magazine. And I stand even in question of that. Akila, the mother, yes, I do, because if you know that the police is one and the same with the media, you wouldn't take the time to say even that out your mouth, being a mother. Because remember, once a child goes missing, any area or any surrounding area, the police has to get involved. And not only that, they have to in fact work with the media. So they're one and the same. And not only that, the mother tried to portray in a sense that this whole situation had race involved in it, as in to say you can somewhat tie race to it, right? Somewhat, but not completely. She's trying to make it seem like race played a part in this, as in say them not wanting to show her face, the media. But you know, at the same time, police have been known to somewhat kill people, accident, purposely, right? So if you are a mother that feel that way about media, then more than likely you're going to feel that same way about police, and not the other way around. A mother that feels that, say, white media didn't portray her child enough in media to be seen, as in putting Asia's face out there, a mother that is going to have resentment feelings towards media that way is more than likely going to have feelings towards police that way, just enough to not hear anything out her mouth in which she stated, let police do their job. That's what she said in the Shelby Star. She said, let police do their job. But you know, media and police are one and the same. They work together, hand in hand. Yes, they do. Ask them. Asia's mother know that. So if a mother holds resentment in the realm of race and all this, she's not going to just let police do their job. Because she would in fact know that police might not do their job. Because remember, she considered race, didn't she? As in white folks. That's how she feels in the area of resentment and the black missing children, and them not being seen enough. So she would in fact stand in question of if police is doing the job they're supposed to be doing, or that they said that they were in fact going to do. Police, yes, FBI and all of them. And she wouldn't just say, let police do their job. She's not going to say that. The only time a person will say something like that is to not be constantly questioned, as she was being questioned by media on that day that she was. And so to shut them down is just to say just that. Which is probably why she said it, was to shut and close them down, because she didn't want to answer anything else. But once again, you still make yourself look guilty in the form of if you say, let police do their job, knowing they are in fact white like the media. That's all I'm saying. See, to call something out is to call it all the way out in the form of raw substance, right? So I myself am a very diverse individual. I accept all colors, races, nationalities. Even if one of my parents, something was to happen to them, child, dog, horse, whatever, farm animal, anything was to happen to them, I still have to continue to, have somewhat diversity, even in me trying to find and scope out my children. If I don't feel that they're portraying, say white folks are portraying my missing family members in the right way, then I'm going to have to in fact go to someone else that looks like me, like a Tom Joyner or whoever else, Ricky Smiley show, somebody else here in 2018, to continue searching for them. That's how you handle that. You don't just say, well, white mass media, whatever, because even that could be a cover up, but you're trying to say. Because if you don't trust media, how are you going to even trust police? That's the question. But going back to what I'm trying to say, I myself talk long drawn out. So Why would the neighbor say that? Why would the neighbor even tell the father? And why would the father even say that himself on the 911 call? The neighbor said she seen Asia walking down the road. The neighbor said she seen a child walking down the road. Why would a neighbor say that? Because it almost seems as if the neighbor ain't completely verified in the room of that, knowing whether it was Asia or not, and possibly just told that father that just because they were looking for her. That's what it almost makes it seem like, doesn't it? Because child and Asia are totally two different entities. And if the young child is dead, then more likely she's an angelic entity. Let me say that. To be gone missing for this long is to say something could have possibly happened in the form of gruesome, where it includes bags. I was going to say body bags, but garbage bags are not that, but still. Okay. And so, yes, where was this road located? That's what I'm in question of. That's what I in fact want to know. I'm in question of where was this road in which the neighbor was speaking on, seeming they lived on the same street. Because do country folks or country bumpkins, do they call their street a road? I'm wondering. I need to call and ask a few people in North Carolina to find out. Do you call your street your road, or what is it? Is it the other way around? Because I'm thinking usually when somebody mentions a road, I'm sorry about fixing this, but I don't like how it's kind of baggy on my head. Let me try to get this right, because that is just too much. So I'm thinking country bumpkin folks, that's not to, make anybody mad. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody. My grandparents, like I said, live in areas like in rural areas. Yes, they do. Oh, way out in the country. So I'm thinking if a road is a road, it has to be somewhat off of a main road in the country. But I can't really see. I mean, unless say they in fact call in the country their own street that they live on, unless they call that sort of thing a road. That in itself stood out to me the most, even in relation and connection to country people. What do country people call their street that they live on? Not the road outside that you get to from your street, but what do you call your road in the country? I just said that myself, didn't I? What do you in fact call the street you're living on? Because see, us city folks, we call it street. Street, boulevard. Some people say that. But I thought to many people it's been known as a street when you live on something, right? But possibly not in the country. I wouldn't know. I would have to find out. That's an examination in itself. If Asia lived where she lived, in the environment that she lived off, she was off a main road. So I'm thinking still that whatever street she was living on wouldn't really be considered a road, or would it be? Somebody leave a comment down and tell me if you live in the country. That don't, because where my grandfather lived, he lived in a huge house. Yes, he did. Out in the country rural area. It was like $1 million house. He built it from the ground up. But let me see. And even most of the houses that my grandfather, when they were built with the company he was with, they were $1 million houses. Yes, they were. That $1 million houses is an up in price range, right? And so many of the houses that they would build would in fact be off the road, right? But the environment where they were located at was not really, because even his house sat there by itself. That's why I don't really like that type of, unless I got full on lighting like this light. But it sat there by itself, right? My grandfather's house sat there in the in the wooded area. The woods was right here. Across the street was in fact a what do you call it? Like a not a barn. What's the word for it? It's where they keep horses. They keep horses, and many people that own horses and stuff like that, they take their horses, they groom horses and everything, and they even race them. Yes, they do. That's where the house, his house that he was living in, across the street along the way was that. So outside of his house, the premises was in fact a road. And that road was in fact used by other people, right? But there were no houses on the other side, on either side of him, but there was a house on the other back side. Like a lot type of place. But that in fact was a farm, which included farm animals. So I'm wondering if Asia's street or road was like that, which is why they called it road. But I thought sometimes when you got more houses involved, I thought that's almost considered a street and not a road. Because how my grandfather's house was set, it was set right there, somewhat right off the country road. Like, yes, off the country road, like as if it was like a main road. It was just weird how it was set up. Yes, it was. It was set up just like that. Like a kind of like a Highway 18 would be set up, that sort of thing. But it wasn't like that. It didn't have like the 2 lanes and all that other stuff. It didn't have no marks or anything on the pavement, which is why I question. So, don't I get long drawn out? I think so. Moving on. I'm just trying to understand. To not know is to try to understand. Okay, so where was this road at in which the neighbor was talking about? When the father said that. And if it was that pitch black, even somewhat pitch black on they road where Asia and them lived at, how was the visibility, as in the eyesight, knowing that there was a torrential downpour of rain blocking the view of even you being able to see, dear neighbor? Hold on. And then on top of that, if a neighbor lives right next door to the father, as in the parent of the child that went missing, if a neighbor next door seen that child taking a walk down the road, wouldn't the neighbor just say she left? Wouldn't the neighbor just say she left? I just seen her leave your house. She just left. I'm thinking a neighbor that lived that up close, I'm thinking that neighbor would in fact say she just left. Asia just left. I seen her walking down the road. I seen Asia walking down the road. The neighbor is not going to say she was walking down the road. The neighbor is not going to say Asia was walking down the road. A child was walking down the road. No, she's going to say she left. She just left. As in she just left your house. Or something around the realm of that. Because see, even in conversation, there's a closeness in proximity as well as a distance, even in the realm of communication. Yes, there is. Because to say that you're seeing a child means that that is in fact a distance that stands in that. Yes, it does. That's to in fact push something away from you. Child. Somebody can have something to do with something with a crime, and to not make that sort of thing hang over their head, as in stand guilty and even plead guilty, is to say a child. That pushes away. That's a distance. And even for the neighbor to even talk like that, say child and not Asia, that poses a form of distance as well. That's a push something away. That's a like push Asia away, as in not saying her name. Because why would you say child in place of saying Asia twice? And not only that, the distance realm of which I'm speaking on in the form of communication, why wouldn't you just say she just left? If I'm a neighbor and I see a child come out the house, and I seen her, as in walking past, even past my house, or walking, if I'm out there at that time at 4 a.m., why is a neighbor out there at that time anyway? Unless they're coming from somewhere or going somewhere, or they was at a party all night. If I'm a neighbor and I'm observing a young child, 9 years old, walking out in the rain, drenched like that. She had to be drenched just leaving the house. Yes, even not that far down the block. Then I'm going to, in fact, not say to the father, child. And a father shouldn't even really be saying child himself. He should be more trying to bring that sort of thing closer, as in owning her. See, there's possession in even that, and the proximity and the form and fashion of communication. To say you own something is to in fact tell that, okay, a neighbor says she's seen Asia walking down the road. She says she's seen Asia walking down the road, not owning something, knowing you own it, being a parent and say, the neighbor says she's seen Asia walking down the road. She's seen a child walking down the road. Because if a father say that sort of thing, then he's almost pushing her off in the atmosphere somewhere. It doesn't add up. It's strange. There's in fact connection in that, in the realm of your beloved ones and them going missing in the middle of the night. To push something away is to push it that far away. Even the neighbor, if the neighbor even said that. See, nobody knows truly what the neighbor said. I'm sure police interviewed them, right? They had to. But she left. That's more a closer in proximity, is what I'm trying to say, in the realm of communication. For a neighbor to stand there and seeing something, she's going to say, because see, even neighbors are nosy people, and they try to get themselves consumed in other people's business sometimes, even when something like that is going down, because more than likely the neighbor is going to be questioned later on, yes, by police, possibly, but they don't even know that sort of thing is coming. But a neighbor who is a nosy neighbor is going to watch a young child from a distance, question why she's out there in the first place. But not only that, when a parent asks that neighbor later on, did you see her? A neighbor is going to in fact make it a point to know that they saw her. They're going to want to feel important, is what I'm trying to say. Listen to me. If that neighbor was black or even white, the neighbor is going to want to feel important. Yes, they are. When the father say, have you seen, whatever, and the neighbor say, that neighbor is going to want to say Asia twice and not once. If the neighbor even said what the 911 call supposedly stated by the father, the neighbor is going to want to take it all the way there just to let the father know, and possibly all the neighbors know, that I seen Asia. And when the police come out scouting and looking, trying to figure out who to scout the question, the neighbor is more than likely going to be the very first person to say, I seen her. I seen Asia. I seen it. Let me tell you, I seen Asia walking down the road. I seen Asia walking down the road. That's how a neighbor, yes, it is. Trust and believe, yes, it is. A neighbor is not going to say, detective, sheriff, whoever, I seen Asia walking down the road. I seen a child walking down the road. They ain't going to do that. They're going to say, I seen Asia walking down the road. I seen Asia walking down the road. They're going to say it twice. That's how neighbors get in, because they're nosy in the first place. Trust and believe, neighbors are in fact watching things when you don't think they are. I've had quite a few neighbors, and they tell you the stuff that they see. Neighbors will in fact tell you stuff when you don't think they're paying attention. They're looking all out their bedroom window, possibly closet window, while they're watching you, even in your own driveway, even at night. Yes, they are. They watch. They pay attention. Yes, they do. Neighbors are not clueless. Let me tell you. They can possibly tell you who is even having sex next door. Because even my neighbor does that, and it gets irritating. It gets so loud it makes me want to call the police. Let me tell you. But I'm not going to call police and tell them to take my neighbors away who have sex. No, I'm not. In handcuffs, because some people even get off on that type of stuff. So I just leave it alone. I leave it alone. But going back to what I said, this father's 911 call, my clips is falling. I got paper clips right here, and it keeps falling off. So, Asia's father's 911 call is in the transcript. I couldn't hear it, but I was able to read. 3 things stood out to me in that 911 call Transcript. The three things that stood out to me the most was the child's book bag, her pocketbook, and the neighbor's sighting, as in supposedly seeing the child. Let me think. That neighbor had to be interviewed by police, because remember, that was the first sighting and not the second. Yes, it was. That was the first sighting and not the second. Everybody else is in question of what could the drivers have seen on Highway 18, and yet I'm in question of the neighbor themselves, on top of the father. Because say you seen a child walking down the road, right? That you're not in fact a second or third eyewitness. You are in fact the first eyewitness, is which I'm questioning. The question to everybody is just a question. So I'm in question of even that. Why is everybody else questioning all the eyewitnesses driving down Highway 18? That don't make sense. If you're going to really fully question somebody, you got to come closer in, as in at home, the surrounding area outside of Highway 18. Why is nobody standing questioning the neighbor and the whereabouts, or why was that neighbor even there in the first place? That don't add up. More than likely the neighbor was what, out partying? That in itself almost looks suspicious. Matter of fact, everybody looks suspicious. Yes, they do. This whole thing looks suspicious, as in a cover-up. See, you don't never know how even close the father and the family was, close as in ties with the neighbor. Just enough to cover something up. You don't know. Because see, the neighbor could in fact be a family member by blood, and yet even themselves might not even be telling police that. You don't know about people. They wouldn't tell that because they would try to keep that hush a secret, as in if they was in on something themselves. The neighbor. You don't know. The neighbor could have been one of the witnesses who made the call of saying they seen her, the eyewitness. They could have went somewhere and used somebody else's phone, is what I'm trying to say. The neighbor. If the neighbor was in on this, the neighbor could have went down somewhere to somebody else's house somewhere to make them not use their own house, because even that is traceable, and use somebody else's call and made the 911 call, said they seen her. And yet they could have been in with the parents and possibly killing the child. Never know about people. Gotta use common sense, as well as logic and reasoning. And the realm of psychology, behavioral sciences, that is in fact a science. Okay, so I said three things stood out to me: her book bag, her pocketbook, and the neighbor's sighting. The neighbor was the first sighting and not, in fact, one of the last. So her coat, as it wasn't mentioned, her coat is number one. Her coat wasn't mentioned on the 911 call in which her father made to dispatch. No, it wasn't. Her coat stands questionable to me more than anything, which is why I put it number one, because remember, to put something on is to put that very thing on first before you decide to grab a book bag as well as a pocketbook. So I said her coat, yeah, because usually when you're going outside in 40-degree hypothermia weather because it's raining torrential downpour, you're going to in fact know you need a coat while you're standing there going out, leaving out, right? Even the opening the door to go out is enough wind to hit you to say, you know, I need a coat. And then once you're out there, say 2 feet away from the doors, to say, you know what, I need a coat. Or 3 or 4 feet away from the door, I need a coat. So a coat is something you put on first, and then you put a book bag on, and then you might carry a pocketbook, but I'm thinking that sort of thing will go down in your book bag. A pocketbook, whether it's a purse in the form of a pocketbook or even a wallet in the form of a pocketbook, that's the sort of thing you pack in your book bag. You don't walk around with it in your hand because it can get lost. So parents would know just that, and they would in fact teach her to put her pocketbook in her bag and not be walking around like that. She's not a grown woman, is what I'm trying to say. Somebody could snatch it, another kid can snatch it thinking she got money, and then there's a fight on the playground over just that. Okay, so her coat. A parent would know quicker if a coat is missing, quicker than a backpack or book bag. A parent would notice a coat is missing first before they notice a book bag and a pocketbook is missing. That is so strange to me. That on a 911 call, that the parents didn't check for the coat first and then say that on the call, like, her coat is here. Oh my gosh. That's what a parent would think. Her coat is here. The parents, see, this is off. Listen to me. This is some monkey business all the way down. As Oprah Winfrey would say, I want to know about the monkey business. That's what Oprah said. So something about this is off. Because for a parent to not search and look and locate to find a child's coat before they do a book bag and a pocketbook, that's to say something. That points you in the direction of something that a parent would in fact take it upon themselves to look for the child's book bag and pocketbook before they do her coat. The coat should be the first thing you look for. And if it's not the first thing, it should be one of the last, because you know that you're on a 911 call enough to say, what else does she usually take with her when she leaves out this house every morning? She usually takes a coat, doesn't she? So a parent would, in fact, when they're distraught, they would, in fact, be scrambling around to see if she took a coat, because that's to know that she could have left, because a child could be somewhere in that house hiding, even under the bed somewhere, playing a game or a prank, as some children do, and yet to not state and share that there was a coat gone missing is to say something about yourself, as in the parents. What kind of parents were you? To not keep up with the fact that children do wear coats, and yet to not say it on a 911 call stands out the most. That is, in fact, not a hallucination. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it stands up. It stands up loud. It stands up very loud. That sort of thing is like almost like, it speaks almost something vulgar, almost as in something could have happened to that young girl in the form of abuse, molestation, or something, for her to even want to walk out that house gently as well as casually without a coat. And then the father not even mention it on the 911 call, knowing that wherever she go, even the church, in that form of weather, she's wearing a coat. I'm thinking, if I was a parent and I go out in the atmosphere every single day and I got kids, young kids that wear coats, that will more likely be the first thing on my mind. Akila, go check the coat. Go check wherever we keep the coats to see if her coat is gone. O'Brien, go check and see if her book bag is gone. That's how you do that. You kind of go for the coat first. And if it slips your mind, then you bring it up later. You know what? 911 dispatch, we trying to see if all her stuff is here, in which she usually take with her every day for school. And even going to church. And even when she went to the game, she had to have had her coat then. So we've seen her coat enough to know where it stands and sits. Just enough for us to even look, being parents, and yet nobody mentioned on the call the child's coat. Why is that? And she didn't even, they didn't mention on her 911. But see, a pocketbook, to even mention that on a 911 call is even more specific, more so and precise than a coat. I'm saying it's irrelevant more so than a coat. If you want to talk about important matters, you can say and ask me, a coat is more specific and more precise as the value, more so than a child's pocketbook. That usually should come at the bottom of the list when 911 dispatch is asking you about her being missing, and you telling them that her pocketbook is gone. Does this make sense? Does it add up? You're going to, in fact, be on that call because to be too frantic is to, in fact, look for a coat. That's what parents do. That's what real life parents do. They look for their child's coat while they're on dispatch. And if they're holding up dispatch too long, they would, in fact, tell dispatch, you know what, I'm not hanging up until I see where my child's coat is, because it's winter outside. My child could, in fact, freeze to death. So I need to see where her coat is. Any parent in their right mind would in fact have had dispatch on the phone while they were in fact looking for that young child's coat, because that's a freezing matter in the realm of the temperature. Freezing rain, as in the film of water, and standing there with that on top, as in the weather itself, the coldness, is enough to take a child's life in the department of freezing, and even parents know that sort of thing would in fact upset a parent. Yes, they will be all distraught, where one parent will scream out, see if she had her coat. Yes, because it's cold outside. So they would want to know, well, why did Asia leave out the house? The parents, we need to see while we on this call where her coat is at, because we don't want our baby outside at that time in the cold. She could freeze. She might know her way around, but she's too young to precisely know her way around even our living atmosphere out here in the middle of the night at this time. We need to see if she had a coat on. And if they didn't notice at that time, as in even them slipping their mind, if it was me and I was a parent, I would in fact take the time to call 911 dispatch again and be frantic and losing it on the phone just enough to say, yes, me being a father, despite me not being a man, I would tell dispatch, my child didn't have a coat on. I need y'all to send somebody over here right now. My child did not have a coat on. Because that in itself will help prevent a death. It could. Because remember, it's too cold outside. That 40 degrees and torrential rain could lead to hypothermia. Ask anybody who knows. Matter of fact, ask the police. Even they know. They know. A weather reporter or news reporter or any of them in the form of weather channel, meteorologists, they can tell you even that themselves. Yes, they can. So, he didn't mention her coat. I'm like, why is this grown man father mentioning a pocketbook which holds no value at all? But to him, maybe it does, because maybe that's in the cover up as well. Why is a father not mentioning her coat before he mentions her pocketbook on a 911 call? That don't make sense. Because if you value your child, you're going to in fact make sure they had a coat on, even though despite they're gone and they're missing. And not only that, you are going to be frantic enough to say to police as soon as they arrive on the scene, my child did not have her coat on. I need somebody to go out and leave away from this house and go find my child, because she could freeze to death. A parent that really cares for their child will make a big enough scene that even that could possibly be seen on TV. Yes, it will. They will possibly put it out as a missing children's report. Asia, whatever age, 9 years old, stands at such and such, 4 foot, whatever. Yes, at this weight. And not only that, her coat, she didn't have her coat on. They would in fact put that in the missing persons. Yes, they will. If a parent is distraught enough to make a position known in that they cared that their child didn't have her coat on. Because some parents of missing children in fact lose it, as their mind is cracking as they stand there discussing with police or even the 911 dispatch that their child didn't take a coat. Because to leave out at that time is to know you might can get lost and be fully drenched and freeze to death. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And so somebody distraught will lose it because they like, oh my gosh, I don't want my baby. Because that's almost like allowing your baby to go in the pool and they don't really fully know how to swim. And yet they're lost somewhere around. Even that happened at public pools. Children being around a public pool, possibly get kidnapped at the pool or somewhat, or people stand in question if the child could have drowned. Mothers lose it. Fathers lose it as well. So, yes, why wasn't that mentioned? That's so weird. That's very strange. The father should have mentioned. That should have came first, the coat. That should have been one of them scrambling, or the other, as seeming they were scrambling anyway, possibly even O'Brien if he was there, or whatever happened with that if he didn't go to school. All of them should have been scrambling in that house while they were on a 911 call to see what all did she take with her. The things that she take every day is more likely the things she's going to take with her. So why isn't her coat one of the things she would take with her? Unless, say, she was used to not wearing a coat at all every day. Then I can see that. But if she's used to wearing a coat, then why is the father not mentioning the coat? That's an unsolved mystery, let me tell you. Anyways, I'm mentioning why. I'm mentioning, yes, I am. Yes, it is. It's almost as if Asia never wore a coat, period. At any time of day in the wintertime, possibly not even the church. Not even to that game she went to. Let me see. Police need to question, listen to me when I say this, as well as the FBI, because they're going to, Sheriff's Department, whoever is going to in fact watch this. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Believe me when I say that. They're going to, one or the two, FBI or police are going to watch this. And possibly Shelby County Police, Sheriff's Department is going to watch this. Because I send things to people. Yes, I do. So, and me saying that, police need to question the family outside of age. Yes, police need to in fact question the family outside of Asia's mother and father by asking them if Asia was known to not wear a coat in the winter, period. As in on any time of day, any time of night, at church, going to school, anytime. Police need to question that. Because see, that in itself stands questionable. Remember, it wasn't mentioned in the 911 call. So for something to not be mentioned in a 911 call is to in fact question that even much more further, as in the scope out. That's why I'm standing here. Police, FBI need to question somebody in Asia's family outside of her mother and father if they ever saw the child not wearing her coat in the wintertime and the temperatures as they were set around that time in the area, even going to church, going to school, going to games such as her basketball game. Even while she was in her jersey, if she dressed before going to the game or if she dressed while she was there. Somebody need to question that. Even in the realm of, say, the family taking the children to other places outside of just activities such as which I just mentioned. Other family members outside of Asia's home need to be asked by police and FBI, was Asia known for wearing her coat any other time of day? As in, yes, any time of day. In the winter. Because maybe Asia was a type of individual to get hot up underneath her coat, which could be why she didn't wear one. I have a niece that sweat half to death when she's sleeping, and so a lot of times she has to take her clothes and everything else off just so she can sweat out, because that's what she does. And a lot of us don't really like and care too much when she sleep on our bedding material because it gets completely wet. We don't like that, so we sometimes put plastic and stuff up underneath her so it doesn't soak through even the mattress, because that can lead to stains as well as like mold as you dry up, right? And so I mentioned that in relation to Asia's backpack when I said about her bag being found was mold there. But yes, that poses a problem about a coat. Because see, yes, an abductor would in fact pick you up and meet you right at your doorstep and picking you up. But see, even that poses a problem. Somebody could have woken up or woke up that night, saw that she was missing as soon as they woke up, and the car in which Asia could have possibly been in, being in the driveway, could have been just driving off, and see, somebody would want to run behind that. And if there's a light anywhere, they could possibly see as in identify the plates of the car. Because remember, the dogs getting in and trying to trace the scent only went as far as the driveway. There's more to even that. The science of the dogs not being able to, say, possibly even gather more scent. But moving on. Why wasn't that? They need to question that. The FBI. It was February. It was raining. It was 40 degrees outside. Hypothermia type of weather to not wear a coat. Yes. Possibly frostbite. You never know. How how could a child, how could parents that are around their children that much not notice that sort of thing, and yet they seem to notice a pocketbook has gone missing, as well as her book bag? How is that? That's weird. Okay, so it's almost telling. Yes, it is. So number 2, the item which stands out to me the most is Asia's book bag being gone on the father's 911 call. I mentioned that before, but I'm mentioning it again because it's numbered. Hold on. Okay, that's weird. That is so weird how when I was looking at Finding Asia Degree, right? When I was looking at Finding Asia Degree, the blog. Yes, it's online. Finding Asia Degree is a blog which speaks about her disappearance and even them questioning, right? And that individual that's running it, should I say her name or shouldn't I say it? I don't want to say her name. But if you go on there, you will see her name posted there. But that individual mentioned 3 things of Asia's items. They mentioned 3 things, right? And as I stand here, I'm mentioning 3 things because 3 things on my end are like loud. They're like vivacious. See, all this certain stuff stand out, and it has to be a reason why 3 things keep standing out to us, to many of us. 3 things stand out to me just as much as it stood out to that woman running that blog. So the first thing that I mentioned was Asia's coat. The second thing I mentioned was Asia's book bag. And the third thing I mentioned was Asia's pocketbook. A pocketbook is a pocketbook. See, because women terminology, women know more. I'm more of a tomboy, so I don't really understand what a pocketbook is. So I had to Google because I don't carry them. So it's stated by definition by ways of Google and dictionary that a pocketbook is known to be a woman's purse, or it could be also known as a woman's wallet. One and the same, sometimes not, right? But going back to what I've said, 3 things. So the book bag being gone, and the father mentioned it on his 911 call through dispatch. Why would the emphasis by the father and the mother or both be placed on Asia's book bag being gone more than her coat? I just questioned that. Yes, remember, a coat comes first. Yes, it does. As in what you put on. Because see, even if they didn't figure, because that's too early to be trying to go to school for a young child that age. So that's why I'm saying there's no way that them parents could have thought that Asia would have left at that time unless she say did it before. And yet it's not been spoken that that sort of thing has happened where Asia left out before at 4 a.m. trying to get to school. Because see, usually kids are picked up on the school bus. I don't know what time she was picked up, but her school wasn't that far down the block, right? But she could have been one of the first or the last picked up. Even in the realm of the timeline with knowing what time the school bus would have picked her up, that would give more information in the case of what time would a school bus pick her up. Would it be more light outside or would it be more dark? Because some school buses pick kids up around, it would have to be around 6:30. So it will be still dark, but going into 7 o'clock in February at that time will be more around 7 o'clock. So that must have been around the time the school bus will pick her up. That's what I'm trying to say. The parents would have known she wasn't going to school at that time. Because if in February it doesn't start to lighten up outside until 7 a.m., sometimes almost 7:15, 7:20, then that's enough for the parents to know she couldn't have been going to school at that time. Am I making sense? Because for a school bus to pick you up after 6:30 and say almost a half hour later is going to get light outside, is to say that's hours. Whatever was done too many hours before to even consider her taking it upon herself to pack something as in a book bag to walk to school. It's too early. The time measurement and all that is off with that. Because the bus, in fact, don't come later. And the bus, not only that, the bus is coming when it's more dark. Because if the mother wakes the children up at 6:30, then that is to, in fact, say they had to have a half hour more to get ready for school. So they would in fact possibly be leaving somewhere about 6:50, almost 7 o'clock, just to get on that bus. Because remember, you still got to put your clothes on and you got to eat a little something to have something in your stomach just to get on the bus to go to school. So there's a timing in even that. I think the mothers and the fathers, they're not saying something. No child is going to leave for school at 4 a.m. if the bus doesn't come until, say, 7 o'clock. That doesn't make sense. It's way out of line of the timeline. It's in fact a deadline, let me tell you. So, how does a father skip a coat? All the rest of her things. Yes, the book bag, What is, I mean, hold on. The focus does seem to be, in the father's 911 call, the focus does seem to be solely on that book bag and pocketbook, and even I want to know why. On his 911 call that he made. Why is the father's focus solely on that book bag and that pocketbook? And not only that, why does he say child when he says the neighbor seen her? Hold on, wait. Because see, children a lot of times like habit. That's the very thing which keeps them in their comfort level. Yes, they do. Children love habit, and to pull them too much out of their comfort level of in the realm of, say, the habit, that in fact protects them. So if a child is used to putting her coat on every single day to go to school, and even if she want to walk to school, doing that, why would she in fact leave her coat behind? Because remember, a habit has already been formed. That is enough to even upset herself, I'm saying, that young child, because that's her habit. She's not going to just oddly say, let me leave my coat at home, unless, say, something was done at home and she was forced to run away. But to possibly get pulled back, as in snatched by home for her leaving, and possibly be beat upside the head by an angry parent who throws fits sometimes, possibly that the public don't know about, is to stand questioning even that. Could that have happened? Could you have been racing to get outside, to get away, as in run away from home? A parent get their hands on you and say, break it in, and then somehow break your face just enough to almost kill you, and then you die, as in they did kill you, right? And then the parents are standing there trying to cover it up some type of way, because that's what all this looks like. In my eyes, and as well as many people that live in Shelby County, in fact, even they have to know something is wrong there. Wait. Yes, because didn't she leave, as in take a ride on the bus? Wouldn't she leave around 7 a.m.? I'm thinking 6:55. If you're waking up at 6:30, you took a bath the night before. So, more than likely, you're just going to brush your teeth, put your clothes on, and eat something. There's a time framing in that. And then the bus has to come, so the bus would have came somewhere around 7 a.m. That's in fact when the lighting is coming up. That's when the sun and everything is hitting the horizon. So whoever did this know even that. They have to. Because if I'm on the outside looking in, I can see just what is. Because even time will tell in that. Hold on. A bus comes later. Much later. Matter of fact, the time difference, as in the time span, the difference of the timing from between 7 a.m. and 4 a.m., that's what, a 3-hour difference, time difference? As in the bus picking her up, and in the time when she left. That's a gap between that time frame. Just enough for a kid to not just leave to say I'm going to school when she know a bus is coming to pick her up anyway. That's funny, and yet it's not, and yes, that's still common sense. A child is not going to just take her bag with her and say, you know what, I'm leaving to lead this family. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, a bus usually picks me up every single day. And not only that, at 7 a.m. that the bus come picks me up around that time frame, right? But not only that, I'm going to leave at 4 a.m. But on top of that, I'm not going to, in fact, take my coat. I'm going to possibly let some individual escort me along the way, as in a possible abduction, and kidnapping. I'm going to just sit back in this man's limo or whatever this kidnapper think he's driving in the form of fashion, and just take me away in the form of love, in the disguise of love. I don't think that sort of thing happened. I'm not trying to laugh, but looking from the outside in, is the whole situation is a mess in the form of a cover-up or something. That's funny. It's funny and it's not. In a sense where you can smell something where it stinks and yet it stands all the way out right. Why is these parents focusing on a book bag and a Tweety pocketbook or whatever it was on a 911 call, and yet their focus nowhere found on nobody's coat, as in a child being 9 years old? That stands corruption of some form. Let me tell you, yes it does. So that's all to be said about the book bag, because I had to bypass that, because every time I go to it, I in fact want to go back and ask more questions, and yet on this video, there's not enough time. There's in fact not enough time to stand. Let me check this, because if I don't check it now, it's going to in fact keep going off. I gotta call even her in a minute. Hold on. That does not make sense. Something standing all the way out. To see something standing all the way out is just to call it. So, I don't want to start completely talking on that book bag again, because I get long drawn out carrying away, trying to decipher every point and position. If you want to hear what I had to say about that, just check out my other videos. There's a lot to be said, a whole lot. As in framed, as in the position of why was there even pictures of somebody in a book bag you're trying to get away from. That in itself is in fact framed. A framed position, as in the realm of, say, like staged or something like that. That sort of thing had to happen, because ain't no way no young child gonna want to leave to get away from abuse to only be reminded of it in the form of family pictures. No. That sort of thing could have not happened. Trust and believe, that sort of thing cannot happen. I'm far away, but the size of the measurement stands out. As in the position of which I stand right here, presenting things, which adds up, as in an alignment. And I don't mean something needing a will alignment, but something needing to be shown and expressed in the realm of even a car or something. As in someone that supposedly picked Asia up. And more than likely that sort of thing did not even happen. Sad to say as it is, in the grieving process, that even that sort of thing could have not happened. Because if you're trying to run away from abuse, why would you want to take it with you? In the form of, say, some family photographs. And not only that, even in your book bag. You mean tell me a child, that's not even in the workings of a child's mind to say, you know what, if the photos, I'm saying if these photos was framed, in which I seen and heard that they were framed, I can't really see a child saying, let me walk through the living room and not get my coat on the way out and grab my parents' photos and frames and put them in my bag. I can't see that. I'm thinking usually family photos are usually involved somewhere in even a mother or father's room, or possibly somewhere in the living room, right? Possibly where a child can gather them, right? But I just can't see that sort of thing being done. A child stopping along the way, on the way out the door, or even while she's packing her things, to say, you know what, I'm going to grab my family's photos. Because I'm thinking she would want something else with that, as in remembrance of them. She would want something from O'Brien Yes, she would. Something, or even something of her mother or father if she loves them that much, for safekeeping purposes. Something else to go along with the photos, and not just photos, because even the racking and that is bare. Listen to me when I say that. What I'm saying, children like to do safekeeping, as in having the very thing they love around them, even when they're possibly leaving home, as in the taking, in the form of a runaway. If abuse was not there, that child would still want something of their mother or their father. And even the mother would even notice even that is gone once the child has left. Because to want something close to you, as in a family, if they're not abusing you, is to take something of theirs with you while you're gone, and not just family photos, not just family pictures. She would have in fact taken something like O'Brien's t-shirt, because didn't he play sports or something? She might not have taken his jersey, but I'm sure a young fella like him likes sports, and so she would have taken, as in grabbed something of his to even sneak in her bag, to remember something to remember him by. And more than likely it would be one of his clothes that's something close to him, because little girls like that, when they leave and go somewhere, they like to have something that is close to them, an article or a garment, something that even possibly they can wear themselves when they're going. So I could see maybe like her taking her brother's t-shirt and putting it in her bag, throwing it in her bag. Possibly even her mom or her dad, something that they own. But more than likely, she seemed possibly too timid for that type of thing. I can't really see her really going into, say, sneaking into one of her bedrooms, her parents' bedrooms, sneaking in their bedroom and say, take something, because that type of thing would lead to you being caught. But to lay in the bedroom of, say, a sibling and be close to that sibling, and still to want to take something of that sibling with you. Yes, trust and believe me. A scratch and a sniff is just that. I'm saying what I just pronounced to you, and I don't mean dead. In the form, in the fashion of, if you're that close to your brother, and you know that you're leaving, and you may or may not know that you're going to possibly be gone, depending on what a false promise the abductor said to you, because to be taking family photos is to almost say that the abductor is telling you you're not coming back home. Why would you need to, in fact, pack family photos with you anyway? So that's a sign almost to say that the abductor supposedly told Asia she wasn't coming back, so just bring your family photos with you in remembrance. But a young child that age is going to want something that she can have close to her, even possibly at night. And I can see the next available thing next to her is O'Brien. Because remember, they share a bedroom space enough for her to sneak something of his and throw it in a bag. And go on about her way when she leaves, when she goes on her little supposedly night walk into the night air. So why isn't something of O'Brien's there? Because children are in fact known and prone to steal stuff of their brothers. Yes, they are. When I was a young girl, let me tell you, the reason why I'm still somewhat, what's the word for it, tomboyish, because I used to love and admire my brother, and even he played sports. He had trophies and everything, and so when he was nowhere around, I used to in fact take it upon myself to wear his clothes sometimes. And he still don't know. It took me telling his daughter, yes it did, it took me telling my niece, his daughter, that very day. She went back and told him. He called me on the phone and said I never knew that sort of thing, but my clothes were in fact, he could tell based upon the hanger, like, I thought I had this, like, I had that, like, wait. And stuff like that. Yes, my brother. I used to want to be like him. I used to want to be a whole lot like my brother. And so I would take the time to stop everything I was doing when he was out of his room to see what he had in his closet. Because even back then, this was around the time when Aaliyah, the singer, was getting down and she was wearing boys' stuff. Yes, she was wearing men's clothing because it was hip back then. So I wanted to do the same thing. And so I would just sneak into my brother's closets and put his clothes on. Yes, I would. It was so fun, let me tell you. It was so fun. And then I would sneak back, right? Man, I got stories for days. I would sneak back and say put the clothes back, but my brother had to have known. That's what I'm saying. My brother had to have known. But I brought that part up as an example that when you're a little girl and you got a brother a little bit older than you and sometimes a bit much older than you, and say you guys even play sports or anything like that. I didn't, but my brother did. That's to say you sometimes want to be like them. That's why you're close in the first place, right? You want to be like them. And not only that, when you leave and go somewhere, it's a possibility you can take a piece of them with you as you're going. That in itself is sad. It's very sad, because even the other people outside of just me can see something about the puzzle pieces are not right at all. They don't add up. That in fact breaks my heart. And it makes me not want to cry, but it's the simple fact of for a little brother and sister to be that close is to in fact take something that you treasure of that brother with you in your bag by putting it in your bag where even he's not going to see. That's a problem. It's completely a problem. It's completely a problem. That's all I can say. So, a pocketbook being gone. Let me pause for a minute. Okay. Wait. A pocketbook. That's a mess. That's all I can say. I just can't see. I just can't see that. Like, how is a brother and sister close and a young girl not take something of her brother with her? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It don't add up. That in itself does not make sense. Well, it does not make sense, let me tell you. And I apologize for crying on camera, but that's off. That's completely off. I know how brothers and sisters operate. Me and my brother today, we're not as close like we were because for the simple fact, kids grow up. As we start to get older, mature in our teens, he was much more. My brother is 7 years older than me. But as kids grow up, they go in their own way. As in, they go off and meet other friends. Some kids still do be close, right? But usually, as you start to do the growing process and say you move away from home in another city and state, sometimes you're not as close. And yet, and still to be 9 and 10 years old and to share a bedroom. That's a bond almost that can never be broken. I'm saying between Asia and her brother. And yet it has had to be because the girl's gone, right? So that, in a sense, shows that the bond has in fact been broken between Asia and her brother. And I'm sure they had fights because young kids pick fights. And yet, and still, even if to say he might have played a part and say in her disappearance, because even children do that sort of thing. Yes, they do. being 10 years old. It's been known that even 10 years old kids, 10-year-old kids have, in fact, murdered their siblings. And sometimes the parents cover that sort of thing. Yes, they do. To help prevent shame being laid on the family and then to prevent the child from going to jail, right? But going back to what I was saying about the bond aspect, that's a little bit too close to share a bedroom with a brother and not totally completely share a bond. Because remember, even that night when children lay, I had cousins. My brother being much older, he had his own bedroom, but cousins used to come and spend the night at our house. And we used to lay up all night and hold all type of conversations. Not in the dark. Yes, in the light, with the light on. We would sit there and talk about what we wanted to be when we got older. You know, where we wanted to travel to, where we wanted to live. When I was a kid, me and my cousins used to do that sort of thing. My first cousins at that, we used to talk about all type of things. More so my boy cousins. Which is why I came and tried to understand this case, knowing that a young boy was involved, a brother. So the bond would have been set there, even with Asia and her brother, sometimes staying up late, holding conversations, possibly more so being screamed at by mom and dad. Would y'all please keep it down? We're trying to sleep. That sort of thing had to have taken place sometime. Because children that sometimes be up or like to stay up late, if that was them, had to in fact have had conversations, which lead to the more bonding aspect. But yeah, she would have wanted something to go along with her outside of something. And if he played more sports, I don't think he did, she would in fact have wanted even something like a ball or something of his to put in her bag. That's only right and it only makes sense. So why wasn't there anything of O'Brien seen in that child's bag? I'm in question of that. How is a pocketbook? Once again, I'm sorry for crying on camera, but it is just what it is. Sort of things strike emotions. Yes, it does. A pocketbook being gone. How is a pocketbook, that sort of thing, how is it carried? I'm saying I thought a pocketbook had to be on the inside of something. Isn't that sort of thing carried in a purse? Or is a pocketbook a purse itself? I need some tissue. Prince, go get me some tissue. Hold on one second. I need to grab some tissue. But question that with me while I grab this tissue. When I said a pocketbook, is a pocketbook something you carry as in a purse, or is it a wallet? We got to stand questioning that. Pause 1 second. Let me grab a tissue. So, is a pocketbook, is that something you carry in a purse, or is it a purse itself? I thought pocketbooks are concealed inside of something, so they're not seen, because to not have a pocketbook put away inside of something is for a possibility for it to get stolen. So say if this wasn't a purse, I'm thinking it was her purse, right? But even that can be stolen by other children if it's cute and they want it. I'm thinking a pocketbook will be concealed in something. If a child is not grown as an adult and she's carrying a book bag, why would she carry those two things? Why would she carry, if a child is not a grown woman and say she's not in business going to work to handle any type of corporate affairs, why would a young child carry a book bag in a purse? I'm thinking that sort of thing will be put away on the inside of her bag. Wouldn't you think? Even her wallet, I'm thinking, will be put away inside of, say, a purse, and that sort of thing tucked inside of her bag and then carried off into the night air, or even going to school or going to church, going anywhere. That sort of thing, even the purse itself will be concealed in a bag, because why would you need to be that young age carrying two things? Because see, a purse, and even the mother would know that, a purse or even a wallet could in fact get lost on the school bus. They could get lost in the classroom. They could get lost anywhere. And even a parent such as like Asia's mom seemed like the person that would in fact value those type of things, because one of them took the time to buy it. And not only that, they like hair bows and stuff on her. So they would in fact want that sort of thing put away, concealed somewhere, so it's not stolen. I'm trying to wipe my nose so nothing's hanging out. And I'm sorry to use this as a mirror. But it is what it is. I don't want to be running back and forth. So the parents would want that concealed in something. Her purse, as in her pocketbook or her wallet, they would want that inside of her book bag or something. And not having her walking around hand and foot just carrying a purse like she's grown everywhere she go, knowing she got a backpack on her back, because that's too much carrying going on in the first place. It is. It's too much carrying to have a bag, which is why I myself don't carry purses, but I did buy one that I liked, right? And it's all black. But it in fact looks like, it don't really, how does it look? It doesn't look like a purse. That's why I bought it, right? But everywhere I go, because I in fact wear bags, because I'm carrying all this type of stuff, I throw everything in the book bag and go while my way. Yes, I do. That way I ain't got to be carrying this and carrying that. That's what a bag is made for. So you don't carry a purse and a book bag. You throw the purse in the book bag and go on by your way. And not only that, I had got a book bag. I carry book bags because I don't like purses. But I had, in fact, put the book bag, that purse type of thing, whatever it is that I bought, I put it in my book bag, so I ain't got to worry about my wallet being snatched up out my hand, which was the point of me wearing that on my back, because to walk around with your wallet is to say it's going to get snatched. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. While you're walking out here in public thinking nobody's going to take your wallet, it's easier to just throw it in the back, in your book bag, your backpack, whatever you choose, your briefcase, whatever you choose to put it in. Throw it in there. But once again, to make things and even life easier, is to say whatever you're carrying, knowing you're going to different places or whatever, even going to school, put everything in your book bag. Don't walk around here everywhere just having stuff in your hands, because that poses a problem even for a child to say, be at school tripping to somebody and then everything just go every which way, which I would think that's why a parent will have her put everything in her book bag from the beginning, right? But these parents seem to allow Asia to carry a purse in her hands while she's carrying a book bag and have her wallet too. I'm in question of that. I wonder if FBI and police even question that. How did Asia even carry her pocketbook as she was going about the day-to-day affairs? Because even when she get to school, where does her pocketbook sit? I can't see even a teacher saying, you know what, Asia, it's okay for you to walk around the classroom and even walk down to the lunchroom and even through the hallways to go to the bathroom holding your pocketbook. Walking down, if Asia had to use the bathroom, I can't see a teacher saying, Asia, you can go to you raise your hand and go to the bathroom. Okay, you can go down to the bathroom and also take your pocketbook with you, because remember, even the children next to you, I'm saying the teacher saying this, even the children next to you can steal that pocketbook, Asia, while you're going to the bathroom, so take it with you. I can't see that. I can see a teacher saying, Asia, if you don't want anything in your pocketbook getting stolen, either put it in your desk and yet it can still be stolen. Because back in our day, we had desks like that where you can put something in the desk and close the lid. But more so, I can see the teacher saying to Asia, put your purse in your bag, honey, and put it in the coat rack somewhere, coat room, because you don't have to handle it while you're here at school. You're not doing anything. You're not buying a business. You're not buying a Corvette or anything like that. You're not buying a house or even a house on wheels. So there will be no point for, that's an RV for those that don't know. So that's for me to say, there will be no point for a young child to even be at school having her purse or her wallet out. That sort of thing has to be concealed in something. It does. That's the point of having it. To have a wallet or have a purse, that's the point of having it, is to conceal it. Because even in that spells out concealment. Because you're hiding things that's inside of the actual thing you're carrying, right? But I just can't see a young Asia on anybody's school bus holding her pocketbook or her wallet in her hands, knowing she has a book bag which rests on her back. That makes life harder. As in a suggestion, I want people to think about that. Consider that. I said any female would know how a pocketbook is to, let me see. A female, a grown adult such as Asia's mother, would know and understand how a pocketbook operates. Even outside when Asia supposedly left the house. I can't even see a young, yes, I said that. I can't even see a young 9-year-old girl walking in the rain at 4 a.m. Yes, walking in the rain at 4 a.m. or any other time, holding a pocketbook in her hands, walking to go meet someone. I just can't see that. I don't know why. Because I'm thinking if you're throwing everything else in that book bag, why wouldn't you even throw that in there? In the book bag, the purse. Certain details have been left out or something pertaining to this family. Because the reason why I said I can't really see a child just walking off like that, because first of all, she's not grown. She's not an adult. To just be saying, you know what, it's 4 a.m. I'm going to take my book bag, girl, honey, and I'm going to walk I'm going to walk down this block at 4 a.m. with my Tweety Bird purse or my wallet. Because see, that sort of thing could get dropped, as in the rain, and possibly with her not knowing. Yes, it can. Because to not be able to see something while you're out there is to not possibly be able to pick it up, even once you dropped it in the dark. Walking down a block somewhere, walking down the street, walking down Highway 18, that sort of thing would have been dropped somewhere along the way, I'm thinking, if a child was prone to carry those sort of things in her hand. And that in itself would in fact point to some evidence, as in a lead, as in a missing link detail. If Asia was out there and she was walking in that cold rain, she would have been shivering in the first place, just enough to be shivering into nervousness about her walking. That's too much activity. See, even I know what I'm talking about. Yes, I do. A child would have been shivering because that's hypothermia, her hypothermia weather. And not only that, she's shivering, hoping that the person that made the promise pick her up, because remember, she's afraid of the dark. And not only that, she possibly shivering because she could be nervous at the fact that her parents might wake up and notice that she's not in her bed, as in she's gone. She might not want to get in trouble for even that. Children think of that sort of thing. So to be shaking too much and possibly pacing on the walk onto Highway 18 is to more than likely drop something. And that, in fact, would in fact be her Tweety Bird purse or her wallet, whatever she chose to carry in her hand outside of her book bag. That sort of thing would have been found in evidence in the realm of it being on the ground, left out there that night by accident by young Asia because she was too nervous to get to where she was trying to get to. And so to not be able to see in the dark is to in fact not be able to see that very thing of which is dropped on the ground enough to be able to pick it up and keep walking just to meet your abductor. Trust and believe that sort of thing would have been left behind by Asia herself by accident and not supposedly. Because if you're walking on Highway 18 and it's pitch black, if you drop something like that, that is in fact dead as well. I'm saying the actual pocketbook, in which instead it would have stood there right enough for evidence for police to be able to find that thing. Because to even walk around with something in your hand in the rain dripping on you is to know something is going to in fact slip out of your hands. Remember, it's wet. Wet in itself presents evidence just enough for something to slip out your hands. As in, you're not being able to hold on to it, because remember, to even be that cold and that type of rain is to possibly drop something as well. Remember, you're cold, so you're going to want to, in fact, try to warm up something by putting something close to you. But to be moving and scattering all along while you're doing that, it's to more likely drop something. And that would be, in fact, her wallet or her purse pocketbook. Because a wallet is more likely able to be dropped quicker than a purse, because remember, it slipped from it just being rubber. So for wetness to meet that, that's like bye-bye in itself. It's going to hit the ground and you're not going to even be able to pick it up. And a young child trying to get to where she is afraid of the dark, she's going to be even frantic of just that, picking it up, because she can't see in the first place. That takes too much time. So, plus she ain't going to want to get found out for the simple fact she left. She'll want to make sure she ain't seen by her own parents. So that's why another reason why she'll keep walking. Okay, so was Asia used to going outside anytime? That, yes, this pocketbook was number 3. Was Asia used to going outside any time of day, taking her pocketbook with her in her hands? Police and FBI need to question even the family outside of Asia's home and ask them, was Asia known to carry her pocketbook? That's what her father said on the 911 call, her pocketbook, whatever that is, whether that's her purse or her wallet. Police and FBI need to question the family outside of the house of Asia's. Ask them family members, was a little girl known and prone to carry that sort of thing in her hands every day, even while going to school, and possibly even walking down the hallway at school? I just can't see that. I don't know why I can't see that, and that's why I presented that, because it stands out the most. Because see, if a mother is as womanly as she presents herself as, I myself am not, because I'm tomboy. I ain't ashamed to say even that. It just is what it is. I'm a tomboy. So to not carry purses right is to really not know how to properly carry them. As in the way, as even in the walk of how you walk. I myself don't understand that. And yet a mother who has raised a child, and that mother being a full-blown woman, as she presents herself on news, Asia's mother, Akila, she would in fact, I'm thinking, not want her child to just walk around with a wallet and more so a pocketbook in her hands. I don't see that. More so a wallet. And more so a purse. I can't see it, because remember, to present a purse outside to the outside world, it's a more likely get snatched, that purse itself. So a woman being very womanly, such as Asia's mother, will in fact want her to put it away. Put it away so it's not seen, so it's not snatched. So put it in your book bag. Dear life, I think our eyes have once met before. I'm talking to myself as I'm looking in this, as well as you, the viewer. I think our eyes have once met before, dear viewer. So the conversation here in which it stands, in relation to some suspects or something, something's not right. Even with Asia's father's 911 call. Did Asia, I could see Asia carrying her pocketbook purse to church. I can see that, yes I can, because see, to go all the way church is to take it all the way there, even in the appeal of dressing. As in black folks, how they like to present themselves in the room of dressing and showing off even at church. And sometimes shouting and holier than thou, sometimes even that's not a joke. It's just saying what it is. I grew up in church and I've seen a lot. The Holy Ghost is coming up on you. So people like that a lot of times like to present and portray an image of somewhat showing off, though they don't have a lot of money, and so they wear Sunday's best. That's what I was getting at. Even people that don't have a lot of money like to wear Sunday's best. They take pride in the measurement of how they look for Sunday at church. Yes, they do. And so that's why I said I can see Asia carrying a purse but not a wallet in her hands. I can't see a wallet in her hands at church. No, I can't. No, I can't, because to get too close to the offering plate is to, in fact, be questionable about that. As in, young child, dear young child, are you going to put a little token in to the offering plate? That's what black churches do. Yes, they do. To go to and be in part. And not only that, my uncle himself was a pastor and preacher, deacon, man, whatever he chose to call himself, with all his doctorate, whatever, and that sort of thing, as well. He owned a church. I know how that sort of thing goes. To have a purse and more so a wallet hand in hand is to know that the deacon or somebody or whoever that fits right along with him, the greeter, not a Walmart greeter, but what do you call them? I said I grew up in church, and yet I'm forgetting these people, what they are. You know who they are. The ladies that love to dress up in the white. I ain't been to church in so long is why I can't remember. But the usher, yes, ushers, they love to wear all white and come to you even if you're a young child and say, young child, would you like to give something? Asia's mother more likely would have had her child put her wallet away so that sort of thing went down in the four walls of the church as in a donation. I don't think that sort of thing would have happened, because anybody in their right mind don't walk around with a pocketbook that they call a wallet. They don't just walk around with their hands on that thing. I don't see grown men walking around holding their wallet, unless say they're going into the store to buy something. And even with them, many of them been known grown men to keep their wallet in their vehicle, sometimes when they ain't even in the vehicle. Yes, they do. I seen a man. Yes, I did. I can't remember if I was at Home Depot or Lowe's or where I was at. This grown man saw me being brown as I am. I'm a brown colored girl. He saw me looking at him, and the man, he literally had his wallet in his vehicle, in his truck, his pickup truck. On top of that, yes, he did. In his console. Like, who does that? That was the first and last time I seen something like that. An individual having their wallet. Did I say purse? Did I say grown man with a purse? Did I say that? The grown man had a wallet, and he had it down in his console. And he was going out to a store. Yes, that was home. I think that was in fact Lowe's, because Lowe's is blue and white, ain't it? It was so long ago, but I seen him doing that. Like, who does that? But only men would do that, because remember, they don't carry purses, so they in fact would want their wallet somewhere concealed, yes, in their vehicle, so it's unseen to the naked eye. And yet I was sitting there peeping that out like, dude, that is off the hook. That's weird. So shouts out to him, whatever his name was. I don't even know him, but I guess if you don't carry a purse, you got to carry your wallet some type of way. Shout out to all the men that do that. Okay, so seeming the father's focus was on Asia's book bag and pocketbook being gone during his 911 call, I ask again, wouldn't a pocketbook have to be concealed in something, as in put away, even if it's in her backpack, her book bag? That just something is off. It's just, to me, grown men, when a child, see where this doesn't add up to me is when a child goes missing in the form of a female going missing, a father doesn't really look for those sort of things. He doesn't. I can't really see a father really, because let me see. I can and I can't, because it depending on what time Asia's father will go to work in the first place, then that will possibly say he's seen her enough to take her book bag as well as her purse, possibly, right? So I can see somewhat of that in the room of, say, some evidence or something, but I still can't really see that being the full focus of Asia, the father on that 911 call. I still really can't see that being the focus of the book bag, because see, yes, a father, if he works later on the shift, then more than likely, that's still, wait a minute, that's still, even the timing of that is off. Because if a father works second shift, If a father was to say work 2 to 10, that would be considered second shift. But even if a father works third shift, no, he didn't work third shift. Even if a father worked second shift of 3 to 11, that's still nighttime enough for him to get off and say, still have a little bit more time to be wide awake somewhere around after 11 o'clock, right? He will be coming home at that time. That's still second shift. So more than likely, if the father worked second shift, then he wouldn't have seen Asia, as in notice her enough to see her taking her bag and stuff. Wait a minute, that's not right. Maybe he would have, because that in a sense come later. So I'm wrong about that. Hold up. If a father witnessed Asia going to school, packing her bag in her purse, then he would have had to seen her enough doing that sort of thing. Did he work second shift? I think he did. So more than likely he would have seen her. Something is just off about the timing or something. Because, yeah, something, see, my brain is trying to piece this together layer by layer. If a father works the second shift from, say, 2 to 10 or 3 to 11, right? He'll get home, have enough time to stay awake throughout the night and possibly go to bed somewhere early that morning, I'm thinking. If he doesn't go to bed right away. Because he has to have some free time in all of this, right? The father. And so, if you're going to work second shift, then it would seem like you almost would in fact sleep longer. Because remember, children get up at 6:30, their children did, and will possibly get on the school bus at 7. So I'm questioning, could the father have seen Asia enough around that time to even see her put on a book bag as well as carry her purse and her wallet with her? Because I'm thinking, wouldn't the man be asleep by that time? Because he done worked a full day, got off and came home, spent a little bit of time around the house, and then went to bed. You got to have some free time in that somewhere. I'm thinking, am I right or am I wrong? If a parent works second shift 2 to 10 or 3 to 11, they're going to get off, have a little bit of free time within that time period, and then go to bed. And so I can see a grown man like that going to bed, say maybe 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, going to bed. 3, 4, 5, 6. And he might not be up during the time when the children are going off to school. Because even that's not enough sleep unless her father don't sleep much at all. Because to work those hours of the second shift of which I just told, right, is to know you're going to go to bed, which is in fact why the father said he would check on her around 2:30. Which means he was still up till somewhat around, say, possibly 3 a.m., right? So I can't see him getting back up again at, say, 6:30 when all the rest of them get up. At 6:30 or even around 7 a.m. because the time difference, as in the gap and all that, is off. If Asia's father checked on them at 2:30 and say he would go to bed, because you got to get in bed and calm your body down anyway, or possibly fall right to sleep, then that's to say he checked on them at 2:30. It's a possibility he went to sleep, as into a deep sleep, somewhere maybe around 2:45 or pushing it 3 a.m., right? And then he's more likely going to remain asleep at 3 a.m. and not get up at 6:30 or 7 a.m. because that's too much short of a time in sleeping. To constantly do that is to know you're more likely going to be groggy when you're at work later on in the day. When you go back to work later on that day anyways. 3 to 11. 3 to 11. Yeah, you're going to more likely be groggy, because if you go to sleep at 3 and then say you want to get up and hug your kids before they leave to go off to school, that's 6:30. You done slept from 3 to say possibly 6:15 or 6:20, right? How much time of sleep is that in between? I want you to calculate that. That won't be enough sleep for Asia's father. Or even because, see, the school bus had to pull up somewhere around 7, and I can't really see him even being woke for that. So that's why I'm in question of, if he wasn't woke for any of that as it was going on, then why would he in fact go look for those sort of things before looking for the coat? Because if a father is not available around during that time period of when you're going off to school because he's asleep so that he can work later on and not be tired, right? Then that's to say, more than likely he didn't see you a lot of times leaving out that house with that book bag as well as your purse and your wallet, right? He would in fact go to the door somewhere looking up to see where your coat is hung up at. To not be around something enough is to not really see it, is what I'm trying to say. And so if your kids are leaving at that time and say you in the bed sleep or something, maybe he could have seen them leaving out. But I'm thinking a man will be asleep. Because remember, you got to go in a second shift, and there's only so much time to get sleep even in that. Before you go, you would in fact look for a coat. You would look for the child's coat first while you're calling dispatch on the phone. That in itself adds up. Hold on, wait. Yeah, men really don't, that's weird, because men don't really look for that. That stood out so much. Men don't really look for if a child got her pocketbook. The father on a dispatch, unless say they was apart or something, to take the eye off them, as in a distraction, as in divert attention off themselves, right? A father or somebody that was guilty of that, they will mention that to make it seem like they didn't have a part or something in that. But usually fathers don't pay attention to that. They would just say on 911 dispatch, Asia's book bag is gone, not her pocketbook. Asia's coat is gone and her book bag is gone. There wouldn't even be a need of her pocketbook being mentioned there on the 911 call. That's all I'm saying. That is strange. This whole family is strange, but yet once again, who family isn't? There's nobody on the block more strange than the Jackson family. And everybody in the world knows, they even know themselves. And yet, congratulations on those. Strange people. We all strange. Every family has strangeness. Yes, we all do. But that don't seem right. Hold on. Yes, women understand. Asia's mother would in fact have understood how a pocketbook works, as in how you keep it, as in the upkeep, as in where you put it at, as in how you conceal it, as in the reason and point position of why you will want to conceal that thing in the first place, the pocketbook, the child's pocketbook, as in putting it away and not carrying it in your hands, young child. That thing could get lost in the night, or even in the day. A wallet. The mystery. That's just, I don't know. Because see, even my father, to give great examples is to lay them out. My father took care of me as a young child. My grandmother did raise me, yes, somewhat. My mother, but she worked a lot, but more so my father was there for me a lot. So he would in fact buy my tampons and pads and stuff like that, right? Yes, as a child, after I started to administrate and stuff, but even before then he would buy stuff like my underpants, deodorant, socks, what else? But with us, there was no molestation there. But he somewhat played of a motherly role, because to be a daddy's girl is for that individual to somewhat play that, especially if your mother is working all the time, right? But I don't think even my father himself would have checked for my pocketbook if it was missing. And me going out in the night air disappearing, right? I don't think my father would have checked for that sort of thing. Because more likely he would have taught me to keep it in my backpack in the first place, as in my book bag. Even the father who don't understand purses would have said, young girl, you don't walk around with your purse like that, and you don't walk around with your wallet like that. You got to put it inside of something. Unless you want that sort of thing to walk away from you. If you want something to walk away from you, as in somebody stealing it, then go right ahead and walk with that sort of thing in your hands by not concealing it. That's what a grown man would think. And yet for Asia's father to not correct her on even that is questionable. Oh, I said, do you know psychopaths? That's a psychology. Psychopaths are fully known to pass polygraph tests because they are in fact unreliable. Yes, they are polygraph tests. Police need to do it again. Polygraph the parents again. That's more likely possibly not going to happen. But if Asia's mother pays attention to detail, say as a child's hair, how is the coat just off? And not only that, how is this situation of that 911 call of this pocketbook, man? She pays a lot of detail in the realm of the grooming fashion department, the mother. So how could she miss all this other stuff, man? It's all subliminal, and I don't mean in the form of conspiracy, because I don't get down with that sort of thing. I don't. Conspiracy theory, right? This all here is not conspiracy at all. Asia's mother pays a lot of attention to detail because her child represents her. Yes, Asia did. And so even her wouldn't want her stuff out, and she would want her child to have a coat on. And if the mother is who she says she is, that child would have never been seen. Despite her not being seen, she would in fact have had her coat on, because Asia's parents pay attention to detail, supposedly the mother, right? That is off the hook. I'm trying to see. It's a mess. I'm turning page after page like I'm reading a book, right? Like I done wrote it. I guess you can say this has been in fact a book, such as the Asia Degree story. And somebody needs to be paid, but no, not me. I will rather find her, even if it's in the form of her remains. In connection to the unsolved mystery, I myself care nothing at all about money and all that, because if I did, I would be somewhere on CNN or something crazy, just saying, give me money, dear people. That is not my position at all. My position is in questioning what in fact could have happened. And what is up with this father's 911 call? To be too far outside looking in, man. What in the world? Asia's belongings and everything, every which way, strewn every which way, hidden and buried every which way. Her father's 911 call is every which way. I'm like, who says that? What father says? The neighbor said she seen Asia walking down the road. The neighbor said she seen a kid walking down. When that stood out to me, I said, hold up, wait a minute. I can't be the only one that noticed that this stood out to me the most. And so I had to look around and come to find out some other individuals that stood out to them as well. It's right after I did my notes and I looked up to see if anybody could in fact agree without me asking them. I had to look around online, yes, to see, am I the only person that's seeing things in the way in which all the mess and everything is? Other people think and sense and feel the way that I do. It's like almost the walls are closing in on me as I'm standing here, because it's like a tightness, as in you can't get out in the realm of gathering the information right, and stuff is like almost closing in as if you're almost seeing something. Even where a Hallmark card wasn't planted with her things. Why wasn't that? Why wasn't there no love letter, no Hallmark card, nothing planted with Asia's belongings? What is wrong with her family? Why is the father's 911 call just like that? Nothing else stood out in that call but that. That's just off the hook. That is completely questionable, as in the environment, the home life. Because if you don't wear a coat, then neglect could possibly stand in that, because you could get sick and keep getting sick if you're in that atmosphere like that and nobody tells you to put on a coat. And then sooner or later, that would in fact presents to the emergency room or something, that something is wrong, that this girl's coming in here, now she got pneumonia. You know what I'm saying? That sort of thing presents stuff like that in neglect. So if that sort of thing never happened, then that's to say more likely Asia was used to wearing her coat, putting it on. Because to not wear a coat enough in the winter, you know how long the winter goes on, to not wear that sort of thing is to know there could be record found in even the girl having pneumonia. Yes, at either through the not paramedic, but even that could happen, the child getting too sick and saying needing to go to the hospital because she has pneumonia, right? That sort of thing would have had to take place if Asia was known to not wear her coat. It would have came to that. Yes, it would. That young child's lungs would have been filled with all type of congestion of mucus spreading all through her in her lungs, because cold air and all that other stuff meet in the child's lungs. Their lungs are not fully equipped for that sort of thing. So there would have in fact been some type of record in the child's if that thing would have happened. And so that in fact points out that Asia was used to wearing her coat. So this in itself could have not been an accident where she don't even look like the type that will go without a coat. Look at how skinny she was. That has to be stated as well. I might make that on another video. The more skinny someone is, the less fat they have on their bones, as in the less meat, like black people used to say and still do. The more skinny you are, that's enough detail right there. The more skinny a child is or individual is, the more coat they get, because remember, even fat is a cushion. It provides warmth, even to animals. And so she had to have known once she met that door, leaving out into that night air, she had to have known from the door, as in the door stopper, door stand, whatever, that it was in fact cold. Go get your coat and go outside in the night air if you're going. Because more than likely, once she got off that doorstep and she met that sidewalk, if they got sidewalks right there, or even walked past even the driveway, she would have known right there, it's too cold for me to be out here. And not only that, I'm standing here shivering right now. Maybe I should go back in. Maybe I should turn around and even go back home. If I'm close to Highway 18, I don't like the fact that I'm cold like this, despite a kidnapper offering false promises. Even children are prone to get sick, is what I'm trying to say, in the cold air like that when it's raining, despite them possibly never being sick before. They are, because even that will make even an adult start to feel sick in the cold and wetness like that. Why would it not? It's freezing. That in itself is freezing. And so that sort of thing would in fact possibly make a child start to feel sick in even the freezing, because to be too skinny like that is to know that wetness is hitting right on your bones. That is going to in fact later lead to pneumonia. It has to. It has to. So if she was kidnapped, wherever she got to where she was going, if she wasn't in a car and she was supposed to be meeting somebody, more than likely that child would have gotten sick after that, to the point almost of possibly needing a hospital, as in someone possibly forcing to having to take her there, because moisture wetness builds up in the body. And that sort of thing has to come out, as in mucus and phlegm and stuff. That wetness would have in fact hit the bones and all that other stuff, hit the inside of her skin, and not only that, somewhat semi-froze her internal whatever else, right? If she was kidnapped, more likely in a matter of days afterwards, she would have been sick. Somebody would have had to give her Theraflu or something. Yes, they would have. Trust me and believe when I say this. Because ain't no way you're going to be in that environment walking for that long. 26 miles is a long way to walk in the cold and then not get sick at that age, at 9 years old. That's an issue just waiting to happen. So, with me saying that, it hasn't been seen or found that the child had to go to the emergency room, because even an abductor would have wanted to prevent that, but they still would have had to care for her if, say, she had been struck with pneumonia after being out in the freezing rain like that. A child could even die later on from something like that. Yes, she can, in a matter of days of having, say, pneumonia or something. So I'm in question of everything. I'm in question of even the book bag, even if it was found. Say how it was found a year later, if say somebody could have possibly put that book bag there. Yes, I am. I'm in question of that before the child's birthday. If say they held on to the bag and kept it that long, and then just waited to put it there during that time, and say they possibly hid the bag, had it for a whole year and hid it, and then planted it later. People do all type of crazy stuff, in which even they ain't telling. Because to see something where it stinks is in fact call it out. Could somebody have possibly held onto the child's bag and stored it somewhere, and then brought it out later and just dug it out in the field where it was to make it seem like whatever? You never know. So I think that's all for now, because I don't want to keep looking at my phone and yet I gotta call somebody back. So I want you to think about this. What is up with the 911 call? What is up with all this? Rhyme or reason? One and the same, whatever that means. I just said it. I think, hold up, who had a song by that name? I could see him. Not George Benson, no. But people that know music will know this song I'm speaking on, Rhyme or Reason. But yes, let me know. Leave a comment section, like and subscribe if you like. And I'll holla back later.